So, this year in gaming has actually been great. It's one year that's seen most of my premonitions, that's just things I think about, actually, in a sense, get correlated by things that have leaked in the media and so on and so forth. It's also been the year that has seen some of my predictions actually materialize, which there's nothing special about what I say. I think we're all looking at the same data set. It's just how we interpret it. I wish my fellow PlayStation fans would be a little bit more open-minded as to how they actually see the data and not throw cheap shots like this audience member who said, "Your theories are doodles. You have lots to learn, kid." To that I say, big bro, if you have anything to teach, I'm open to learning. However, I think my record speaks for itself. Yes, I do have some doodles in my own predictions, not saying that I'm batting 100 average. However, I remember when this video finally came full circle and other videos within its own category, and I attained fine wine status because a lot of people did not really believe it at the time that PlayStation would ever bother bringing a game like Marvel Spider-Man to PC. And you know what's crazy? It wasn't even too long before I actually remade these videos because I'd been talking about this since 2018, and then PlayStation went ahead and did the announcement. I think if you go back and read the comments of that video and you basically see what people were saying at the time, it just seemed like the industry was not going to entertain such a shift. However, the shifts continue to happen, and more we're seeing changes across the board. There are changes that PlayStation is making. There are changes that Xbox is making. I think both sides of the conversation, the Xbox fans and the PlayStation fans, have had to actually adjust because these changes are paradigm shifting changes. In the case of Xbox, they've decided that they're going to move their games to wherever it is they can make money. They're not concerned about exclusivity anymore. To this, Xbox fans, some of them that have not paid very close attention to what's going on, have interpreted this as Xbox giving up. Some PlayStation fans have also done the same. They've used it to try to maybe clown or attack Xbox in this regard. The second side is PlayStation, making its adjustment and shifting games to PC more and more. By closing the window and the time that these games usually make their way to PC, PlayStation is also saying that we're following because we want money, and if we don't get this money, we're going to be caught sleeping, and our competitor, who has the ability to deploy games to PC, deploy games to console, deploy games to cloud and mobile, is going to eat us alive. Basically saying that they've actually jumped across them in terms of competition. I think at the end of the day, though, the open-minded approach is the best one that would serve you. Whether you're an Xbox fan, whether you're a PlayStation fan, it doesn't really matter because these are plastic boxes. Don't tie your identity to them. I understand that gamers have the, incessant need to want to be prideful about the platform they play on, but the best thing that you can do is to stay as neutral as you possibly can. When we look at what's going on in the news, when we look at the data, when we look at the numbers, when we look at how things are tracking, I think you can say very safely that the entire gaming industry is unrecognizable from what you had just the beginning of last year. The beginning of last year, we were busy complaining or talking about when, Hogwarts Legacy was going to launch, what the content of the game were. We did not envision that at some point where we're going to be seeing, an Indiana Jones game, which we'd known about possibly coming to the PlayStation platform. Which brings me to pretty much my major pointer in this particular video. Some of you may or may not know, but I've always been in the camp where I think that Xbox should bring its games to PlayStation. I am that one guy that would say it. Now, some of you have always thought that I'm an Xbox fan. Ideally, actually, I'm a PlayStation fan if you actually put the two consoles side by side. I play on PC primarily, don't get me wrong, but I would lean more to PlayStation because a lot of my playtime, my library, my subscription service to play online, which is crazy that I actually even do that still. But I have friends on PlayStation that we've played games together for years, and I want to continue to be able to run, missions with them in the division. So heck yeah, I'll get a PlayStation subscription for the boys. But one thing that I will say though is Xbox already knows where it's going. It's no longer hidden that they really want to go out there and farm dough. They're not really concerned about people thinking that they've given up on the industry or whatever it is. We ran the numbers in my last video. I don't know if many of you watched it, but after having run those numbers, it looks like Xbox stands to gain at least $6 to $7 billion of just pure revenue after profit split from PlayStation alone. So what Xbox is wanting to do is, now that it knows that its console sales are not going to climb as fast as PlayStation's, it wants to use PlayStation as a proxy deployment device to be able to go ahead and get money out there. You'll see some people talk about this in a bad light. They'll say, well, Xbox isn't competing anymore. This is why they're moving their games to PlayStation. That is the most childish thing I've ever seen in my entire life. You see, what's even worse is that YouTubers say this crap. What's funny is these YouTubers, they have to pay YouTube a profit share for ad revenue that they make on the platform. So even they themselves, they make money and still share revenue and somehow don't see the hypocrisy that their own businesses that they're running, in order for them to be able to make money, they actually have to spend money and share money with somebody else, the platform holder and publisher of your videos. So if I see any YouTuber ever say that, oh, by the way, Xbox taking their games to PlayStation is a loss for them, they should be openly mocked for being childish in their analysis and being hypocrites in not paying attention to their own house, that they have to even spend money and pay to YouTube. The rev share is 45-55%. It's insane. That's how high the rev share is with YouTube in terms of ad revenue. And for Xbox paying only 30% max, that somehow is a problem for a lot of these folk, when even PlayStation themselves are going to Steam and Epic Games to pay 30% and 18% respectively. So all those 60 million consoles, they have now become Xbox sales machines. So this rumor that I continue to see, or these rumors, like the one that was shared by Ecstasis over here, to me is nothing shocking nor surprising. I think even now many Xbox commentators and even Xbox fans are starting to get to the point where they're like, it doesn't even really matter anymore. I'm getting the game on Game Pass. I shouldn't be bothered anyways, because PlayStation is going to, in a sense, subsidize this game for me. Sea of Thieves is, in my opinion, one of the best case studies out there. When you guys remember what Sea of Thieves did, I thought it was quite remarkable. For a game having been 8 years old to go to the rival platform and pull 1 million copies in terms of sales at the time from there, I think that's probably one of the most impressive things that I could actually see. It not only did 1 million, it actually sold more than 1 million, according to this Eurogamer article. The once console exclusive Sea of Thieves has reportedly sold in excess of 1 million copies on PlayStation 5. Plenty of sales and sales. Really? This figure comes from Windows Central sources, with reporter Jess Corden noting that given the game's $40 price tag, the game makes around $40 million additional revenue, minus platform fees, of course, for Rare to hire and invest in growing that game out. On its release on PlayStation earlier this year, Sea of Thieves topped the PS5 sales chart in Europe. Prior to its move to PlayStation, the Sea of Thieves team also revealed that 40 million of us had embraced our inner pirate and set sail since the game's debut across Xbox and PC, where it's also available on Game Pass. That's big. Another game that's actually done this, that's quite significant in the market, is Tom Clancy's The Division 1 and The Division 2. I remember Ubisoft putting out the metrics that both games had seen about 40 million players. That, to me, ladies and gentlemen, is probably one of the most impressive things. And for them to move to PlayStation years later and still be able to knock out at least over 1 million more players is just fantastic. Now, I've said that, I would like for Xbox to bring its games to PlayStation, but how fast are they going to make that move? Do they even really want to make those moves? Do they want to make their platform continue to, look very, pleasing to the eyes of people who want to save money? I think these are things that are going to go ahead and influence the speed within which they go, especially now seeing how they've done a few tests. Not every game is going to hit on PlayStation. They kind of understand that. However, they know the level of gamer that exists on these platforms. I don't know, again, if you saw the Call of Duty data, which I actually did estimate, where we saw that about 1 million people spend 100% of their time playing Call of Duty. 6 million people spend over 70% of their time, and this was from a letter by Jim Ryan. When you look at these numbers and how the attention of gamers are actually, across these platforms, it's not hard to see why Matt Piscatella continues to come up with this particular data set every single time, and why, Xbox is learning from the success it's had with Sea of Thieves, the success it's had from Minecraft, and even now the almost guaranteed, I don't know, we say it like that, almost, you never know, you gotta leave room for possibilities, almost guaranteed success that it's going to continue to have with Call of Duty. I mean, the other Call of Duty game under them, which they pretty much closed the acquisition and then they pretty much sold that game already was a big, massive hit. So I don't see anything too different because Call of Duty has been pretty much getting W's all of these years. And PlayStation has been a part of making it a possibility. That, to me, I think is probably the biggest competitive statement, that you can walk into enemy territory and come out with all that money. That is insane, ladies and gentlemen. And, honestly, I think PlayStation needed this humble pie more than anything else. This was a generation that PlayStation needed to wake up, because I think planned from them was a whole bunch of shenaniganry. I mean, think about it. They're about to sell a $700 console in a mid-gen refresh. And somewhere, somehow, it has not, in a sense, occurred to fellow PlayStation fans that what is actually this company giving you other than hardware? I mean, if you're buying pure hardware just for hardware's sake, I get it. But I'm not really certain that this is the platform that we probably can, in a sense, I don't know about everybody else, but I myself, I don't think this is a platform I can continue to rally around, to be very honest. I mean, I already was leaving console gaming, so there's nothing actually holding me back. PlayStation was the reason I stayed on console, which is wild. And if PlayStation is acting like this and they can't, necessarily compete other than trying to go money hack games, then there's no reason for me to chill out here. And I think this has pretty much been my biggest, concern overall, and why I've been making a lot of these videos talking about these challenges, because this also affects, gaming in a further sense too. Because as much as these two may be fighting themselves, they also have the challenge, in terms of trying to outdo one another. And honestly, PC benefits at the end of the day. So all of these things in perspective and all these things in play, I'm happy to see the gaming industry actually take this particular shape. It's really good for the consumer if both of them continue to actually, have this competitive push and pull and tug. It really does help everybody to get the best of it. And I hope that more of this competition continues. I don't want to see PlayStation flail. I want to see them actually fight back in a, much more authentic and organic way, and a way that actually builds their own, pipelines, not just going to try to block games from Xbox. If you do that, you actually admit that Xbox is actually going to, smoke you. That's what you're doing. You're afraid of Xbox. Why would you block games from Xbox if you don't consider them like, a problem or a threat? You're basically showing your hand that way. Make good games. We'll play them. Thanks for watching. Peace out.